I just want to say before this starts, this is a very long, sorry, it's a very long and very heavy story. Um, I appreciate those who stick around to hear everything. I understand that it's not captivating to everyone. Um, but if you came here from my first video, where I kind of just laid it out on the table, and because I was in need of talking to someone, this is that. And I've had some pretty major stuff happen recently, and I thought I'd talk to you about it. So anyway, I appreciate it if you watch the whole thing. I appreciate you even watching me at all. If this isn't for you, hopefully I will see you a little bit lighter and shorter video. Yeah, anyway. I'm gonna start off by saying I had strep like a week and a half ago, and now I have a sinus infection from it, so my voice sucks. I'm sorry if it's annoying. I felt like I don't know, I guess I don't owe anyone an explanation. I guess I always say that, like, this is therapy for me, and I'm in desperate need of therapy right now. I was doing pretty good and actually filmed a couple videos and had stories and was feeling great. I'm in my new house and I'm in my new relationship. It's not that new anymore. I'm in love. Something happened a while ago. So if you've watched my my video about my history with seizures, I kind of go over the timeline of what was going on there. Hey! Okay, so if you've watched that video, I mean, it gives a good timeline of my history with seizures and having a seizure disorder. You have to be kidding me. Okay. So I have a new kitten, and he keeps playing with my other cat, so that's just gonna be distracting, I'm sorry. Okay. If you watched my other video, I go over the whole timeline on living with seizures, when they started, how it progressed. I explained that I never got a concrete diagnosis of, you know, what was going on. I explained what it felt like. I had some really specific auras, which is the dizziness that you feel before a seizure, or in my case, I will get just auras, maybe like 10 or 20 times a day still. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, I had to kick my cats out. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I considered myself seizure free for the most part. I will still have a full one once in a while, but I felt like it was under control. And then I would have these dizzy spells or auras often throughout the day, but I didn't feel like it impeded my lifestyle, or it didn't affect anything other than, hey, like, whoever I'm with, like, just so you know, if I'm spacing out for a second, I just need a second, I can come back. Sometimes they'd be more intense, and I still wouldn't pass out all the way, but I would get kind of exhausted from it and just needed to sit down for a little bit. Again, I felt like I could have a totally normal life with that. Until Jeff found me unconscious on the ground. After a night we had gone out, and it was his sister's birthday, and we had drank and had fun, and it was late, really, really, really late, and we're kind of just going to bed. And he came in the room, and I was laying on the floor unconscious, and I was not breathing. He called 911, and they asked if he could do CPR, and he had never done CPR in his life, and they walked him through it, and by some miracle, it worked. The ambulance came maybe like 2 minutes later. They had a great response time, and they had to repeatedly keep me from going under in the ambulance. I had bruising all over my chest just from them. I don't know what it's called, but they kept pounding on my chest, basically punching me in the chest, keeping me alive, keeping me from passing out. So after that, we, again, by some miracle, found my seizures are not hormonal as I previously thought. They did get better, a lot better, once once my hormones were balanced, because, like I had said in the previous video, I had very, very low estrogen and progesterone. No progesterone, very little estrogen. And so that, like, trauma on my body would make me have seizures. I previously thought that that was the reason that I was having seizures, because when I went to the doctor and they realized how low my hormones were, they said low hormones can cause seizures. So I was like, okay, that's what it is then. And then I got on hormone replacement, and they got much better. So to my belief, that's what they were. It turns out that that's just a trigger, because a big one, obviously, because they were much worse when my hormones were not balanced. However, I was still having auras. I've never not had those since the beginning of this. I did not realize that that is a seizure. Neurologically, there are grand mal and petite mal seizures. I mean, there's a million different other ways to describe them. I honestly don't even remember because it's been so long since we characterized all of them. I know that I had grand mal, which means that you pass out and you can convulse, but mostly it's just describing what's happening in your brain. So your brain is having a seizure and you are unconscious. A petite mal seizure, you are not all the way unconscious usually. Often people will have them and not know that they're seizures, like I was having with these auras. The difference between that and me just thinking I got dizzy sometimes is that every seizure that you have does damage to your brain. That's just, I mean, it's not good for your brain to have a seizure. You want to do anything you can to not have them. I was okay with having them once in a while because I knew that some kind of anticonvulsant medication, which is most of the time very sedating and often didn't work for me, that was not worth never having them. I would rather have them once in a while, whatever. I didn't realize the auras that I was experiencing were also seizures. And the night that Jeff found me, I had a grand mal seizure. And through doctors, learned that, they are not hormonal as we thought. That's a trigger. I have temporal lobe damage. Temporal lobe damage happens through trauma to your temporal lobe, which is like the sides of your brain. Temporal lobe damage happens pretty much exclusively with either physical trauma or just trauma to the brain. So a lot of times when people have like a lot of fetal seizures, which are very common for newborns to have seizures, and usually they never turn into anything, but sometimes if you have enough, it can affect your temporal lobe. Things like very high fevers at a young age, meningitis, but the most common is physical trauma. Now, I have no memory of hitting my head that hard, especially around the timeline that I started having them, which was around 12. However, it's possible, considering that hormones are such a big trigger for me, that I had this for a long time before I started having seizures, and then through puberty, they got much worse. Memory loss is another big side effect to temporal lobe damage. And there are huge chunks of my childhood, my past, that I don't remember. I actually have been formally diagnosed by a couple doctors with PTSD because I genuinely have blackout. I don't remember. There's ages that I do not remember. There's times that I don't remember. And we can't really ever put the pieces together. And now that I have this diagnosis, everything makes a lot more sense. There's things that I talk about in the last video characteristics to my seizures. Like with my aura, it feels like a very intense deja vu. It feels like I'm traveling into a different dimension. I also can't speak. All of these are pretty much exclusively signs of temporal lobe epilepsy. I don't know how I saw upwards of 500 doctors in my childhood and they did not know that this is what was going on. I know that it is difficult to see on an MRI or an EEG just because of the placement in the brain. So maybe they ruled it out early, and I got a false negative. But that is 100% definitively what's going on with me now. The scary part, I cannot just live like this, like I previously thought. Considering I had a near fatal episode, if I was alone, if Jeff had done CPR or had fallen asleep, if it was just a little bit worse, I would have died. And I can't take that chance of that happening again. I have a daughter and I need to be here for her. I also want to live. I now more than ever realize how badly I want to live. There are basically two treatments for temporal lobe epilepsy. One is the anticonvulsants medication. I've been on them in the past. They have not really worked for me very well. It's actually very typical of people with temporal lobe epilepsy to not respond well to anticonvulsants or for them to stop working. This also literally only stops the physical seizure. So this would not help my memory loss, my loss of cognition, the damage that's continuing to happen in my brain would stay there. There's also side effects like, so temporal lobe affects your speech and auditory. I do have side effects that I didn't understand before this diagnosis, like not being able to filter what I was saying. So like I would have this thing all the time. I would say, I don't know what I'm thinking until it comes out of my mouth. Like I'm hearing these thoughts at the same time as everyone else. And it was always a joke. Like I just don't have a filter. A lot of times I will randomly, it just comes out. And it truly is not controllable. That is a big symptom. There's also times where I am unable to speak. Again, I always wrote it off as I was just overwhelmed or anxious, even though nothing specific had happened. I just couldn't push words out of my mouth. All of those are symptoms. So medication would not help the damage that's already done. And there's been quite a bit of damage at this point, considering it's been 15 years of seizures. Most people with this don't go that long without treatment. And I do have a pretty severe case. The other treatment that is available right now is surgery. They'd locate the damage on my temporal lobe and they would open up my brain and take out the damaged tissue. This is a low-risk surgery as far as fatalities. However, it is not uncommon to see a lot of complications. There are some people who take years to recover. There's some people who get better and then they come back. There's some people who have extreme anxiety. There's some people who experience extreme personality change, mental change, cognition changes. Something that you don't know is I actually got engaged recently, and we're planning our wedding for September. I really don't want to walk down the aisle with a big scar on my head. I know that sounds silly. And I don't want to let this go any longer, because every day that I don't do something about it is another chance that I could have something like life-threatening happen. At this point, I'm kind of in limbo because I am waiting on, where I live, there is a really good team of epilepsy doctors that I am trying to get into. They are who I would trust right now through my research, and I'm going through an extensive process of getting referred into there. They do have the largest machines, the most sensitive EEG machine in my area, the largest. I have the best chance of really finding exactly where this is and taking care of it. There is a good chance that I can do surgery, and I come out of there's an 8-week rehab process to learn how to speak again. But I come out of rehab, and I come out of treatment, and I'm better. Sorry, my camera died. Right now I'm kind of in limbo because I need to get a referral, and I need to get into these specific doctors that I feel are going to be the best for me. And until I meet with them, I don't have a game plan. I don't know what's going on. I could get in there and they say, we're booking you for surgery next week. I could get in there and they say, let's try medication for 2 years and then talk about it. They could say, we have a third option, let's try it. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm in this weird place right now where I feel selfish and bad for not telling people what's going on, because I am not myself, and I also don't want to walk in to someone's house and say, hey, I'm getting brain surgery next week. If that's the case, like I feel like I need to let people know what's going on just in case this is immediate. And at the same time, I don't have anything to tell them. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have any plans yet because I just need to get into a doctor, and even then I think it's going to be a long road to figure out what's best for me. And I don't want people to, I guess, pity me or rally around me in this huge way, and then it kind of, nothing happens for a couple years, you know. It's making it hard planning for the future. Nothing's more important than getting this fixed, though. So I'm doing what I have to do, but it has really, really, really affected my mental status. I'm just not able to like film a video about something else and get lighter, and I felt like I was getting to this place where I could do stuff that I was wanting to do, talk about stuff that I was wanting to talk about, and actually have people hear me and have an audience. And I didn't feel like I could do that, and not be real about what I'm actually thinking about. I can't pretend to be thinking about anything else but this. I wake up and I think about it. And I mean, this has really changed my outlook on a lot of things. Number one, getting that close to death changed me in a way that, I mean, it changed me forever. It sounds so cliche and cheesy, but I feel myself like not caring about anything anymore. I just, not in a good way. Like a few days after that happened, I'm getting a coffee and I ask for a cappuccino, and he starts to get it and he comes back. He said, "Did you want sugar on that?" And I had this like feeling of like, who cares? Who fucking cares if there's sugar in it? Like, you're asking me that as if it matters, as if the world didn't almost just end the other day. Like, the girl who I'm buying a Powerade from at the gas station is bringing me out and saying have a good day, as if everything's normal. There's people beeping at other people at green lights when they're not going, as if that matters. Like, I have this, I mean, my mind is blown. I think a lot of it is still trauma from that night. I mean, I know that both of us involved had a hard time recovering from just specifically that incident. There's a heaviness that comes with owing your life to someone. It sounds romantic and nice and great and heroic, but there is this guilt that I carry that I can't explain, but I just don't know how to. I don't know how to be grateful for it, and I don't know how to repay it. I think the good thing that came out of this, besides the diagnosis, is me and my fiance have bonded in a way that I don't think we could ever replicate without this happening. And I would never want this to have happened. It was horrible. But I mean, if I wasn't sure before this is the person that I'm going to end up with, I am now. Actually, the reason we have a kitten right now is because he's been begging for another cat for so long, and I've been telling him no. And yeah, after that, I kind of had this feeling of, who cares, let's get a cat. I said, you saved my life, you deserve a cat. Because, and it's been great, we've been happy. He's the best cat ever, but I don't know. I don't know what this next year looks like for me, but I know that it's going to be intense and emotional, and I might be getting married. I don't know. But I just thought I'd fill you in because I don't feel like I can openly talk about it right now to everyone. At the same time, I have been telling the people who are close to me, like I said, just in case something very sudden happens and I need surgery. I want them to know what's going on. But it's also, I just feel so in the middle, like I'm so confused and I don't know. I'm floating in this middle space right now that I know what I probably have to do, but I don't know what's gonna happen. And I need to talk about it. Like going back to my first video, it's this thing where I felt so heavy and so troubled and so confused, and I wasn't allowed to talk about it to anyone in my life. And I poured my heart out in a video, and I got responses, most of them supportive, and it felt so good to just let it out. And I'm hoping that this gives me the same relief that I had then. I promise when I'm in a better mood, I'm going to make something else. I'm going to continue to try to keep filming because it does make me happy. But I thought that I should tell you my explanation of my absence. Anyway, that's what's going on. Obviously, I will give an update if I hear more. I will probably be documenting this entire process. At least for myself. I don't know how much I'm going to make public, especially depending on how it goes. But yeah, that's what's happening. Anyway, everybody wish me luck. And maybe the next time you see me, I'll have a badass scar on the side of my head. If you're not squeamish, you should Google it's temporal lobectomy, and it's not just a little cut. Yeah, so I'm hoping that I can do some kind of cool undercut or something. I don't know. It's not even time to talk about that yet. So anyway, I'm gonna go for now. Thanks.